Today we're going to look at our shapes with circles. So we're going to look at cylinders, which have a circle on top and stand straight up. We're going to look at cones, which have a circle on bottom and come to a point, like our pyramids did yesterday. And then we're going to look at spheres, which are a circular shape in 3 dimensions, so like a basketball. Remember, your area formulas do not need to be memorized. The lateral area formula, I think, is pretty cool, though, where it comes from. So we'll just take a look at where it comes from, even though you don't need to memorize it. We can break it down to 2 pi r times h. That height would be the height of the cylinder. What is 2 pi r? That was a formula from last chapter.
Circle.
What about a circle? The circumference. So what happens is, if you take a cylinder and you slice it down its side and unroll it, what shape would that become? If it doesn't have its top and a bottom, just the sides of the cylinder, and we slice it and unroll it, it's going to become a rectangle or a square, depending on how the dimensions actually work out. Right? And what's the area of a rectangle? Length times width, or base times height. So we have that height, and then we have the 2 pi r, which would be the length of the rectangle that used to be the circumference of the circle. So that's why that formula is what it is. You don't need to memorize it, though. You do need to memorize the volume formula. The volume formula is pi r squared h. So that's the area of the circle, pi r squared times the height. Cone, again, you do not need to worry about the lateral formula to memorize. But the volume formula is 1/3 of pi r squared h. So just like yesterday, our pyramids had 1/3 of the volume, cones as well have 1/3 of a volume. When our point comes to a shape like of standing straight up, we're going to get 1/3 of the volume. And then our sphere formulas. For a sphere, we don't talk about lateral area because a sphere doesn't have sides. It's all one surface. So for a sphere, all we can do is total area or surface area. You don't need to memorize that, but you do need to memorize the volume of a sphere formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. And I can't really explain to you where that one comes from without calculus. So that one you're just going to have to memorize. 2 times or 3 times last year. It was like they did it every day at some point. I don't know. I think they just started last year. Elementary school? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at these examples. So for question number 1, we're asked to find several things: lateral, total, and volume of a cylinder. So we can draw a picture if you want. You don't have to. But we can draw a picture of a cylinder here. We have a radius of 8 and a height of 10. Lateral area. The formula is 2 pi r h. 2 pi r h is the lateral area formula. You don't need to memorize that. So we can plug in what we know here. 2 pi r is 8 and h is 10. And like we did in the last chapter, we're just going to multiply all the numbers together and let the pi's hang out. So if I multiply all those numbers together, I got 160 pi. Total area we've talked about for the past couple days as being lateral, the sides, plus the bases. So we're going to have 160 pi plus, in a cylinder, how many bases do we have? 2, because there's a circle on the top and a circle on the bottom. So we have 2 bases in a cylinder, times what is the area of a circle? It's our area formula for a circle. Pi r squared. So you can't forget those formulas from the last chapter. We still need them for this chapter. And we know that in this question, our radius is 8 So again, we do our arithmetic without the pi's. Just do 8 squared, which is 64 times 2, and then add that to 160, and that all together gives us 224. And the pi just tags along. And then we are also asked to find volume. Volume formulas do need to be memorized. Volume is area, which is pi r squared, times height. So we plug in our numbers. 8 for radius, 10 for height. And do our arithmetic without the pi. 8 squared is 64 times 10 is 640. And then let the pi tag along. Questions? For number 2, we're given the volume is 125, and our volume formula that we used in the last question is pi r squared h. And that's the formula you need to memorize about cylinders. Then the problem tells us, what about if r is equal to h? Well, if r and h are the same thing, we should be able to swap them out and use them interchangeably for each other. So I'm going to take that h that's in this question and turn it into an r, because h and r are the same. So we don't need two different names in this particular cylinder. That's not a general rule, but in this particular one, we're told they're the same. If I have r squared times another r, what does that make? R cubed. So I get 125 pi is equal to pi r cubed. And how do I solve for r? Divide by pi. 125 equals r cubed means what number times itself 3 times will make 125? And that's 5. And if we don't know that, we just grab a calculator and guess and check. And see, what do I multiply by itself 3 times to get 125? And that would be 5. Questions? Number 3, we have a cone. We're asked to find lots of stuff about it. Slant height, lateral, total, and volume. We are told that in our cone we have a radius of 4 and a height of 3. Yesterday we talked about heights of pyramids, and a cone is really just a special kind of a pyramid. When that height drops down from that point to the base, how does it hit? Right in the center and at a right angle. So we get a right triangle there. The slant height is the length along the edge of that cone. So how would I find that? The Pythagorean theorem. 3 squared plus 4 squared will equal that slant height squared. This one happens to be a nice one. 3, 4, 5 is a special triangle for us. That comes up a lot. The Pythagorean theorem will get you there anytime because we have a right triangle. So our slant height is 5. So that's the first thing we were asked to find. Then we're asked to find lateral. Lateral area for a cone is pi rs. Once again, area formulas don't need to be memorized. You just need to know how to use them. So that's pi times 4 times 5, which we're leaving our pi's in our answers, so we just multiply the numbers and get 20 pi. Total area, we've said in general, is lateral plus the base or bases. How many bases does a cone have? Just one, because on the other side there's a point. So we've got our lateral plus the base is a circle. What's the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So pi times our radius is 4 squared. So when we did our cylinder in number 1, we needed to multiply by 2 because we had 2 bases, the top and the bottom. But a cone only has 1 base, so we can just do a plain pi r squared there. 4 squared is 16 plus the 20 gives 36, and that pi tags along. And then we are also asked for volume. Volume is the formula that does need to be memorized. And that's 1/3 pi r squared h. Same as a cylinder, but times 1/3 because we're chopping it to a point. So we plug in what we know. R is 4, and H is 3. We multiply all that out, and the pi tag along, and we get 16 pi. Questions? Number 4, we have a cone again. This time we want to know the height, slant height, lateral, and total. We're given a radius of 9 and a volume of 324 pi. And our volume formula from the last question is 1/3 pi r squared h. So we can plug in what we know. We know r. But we don't know h, but that's one of the things that we're asked to find. So how would I solve this equation to find h? I can multiply by 3 on both sides. That will cancel out that 1/3 and get rid of there being a fraction here. Thanks. So 324 times 3 is 972. We can also divide both sides of this by pi and just get rid of those.
It is now time to stop reading.
And on the other side, we still have a 9 squared, which would be 81 times h. How do I get h alone? Divide by 81. And I get h is 12. Okay, so we can put that into our picture now. And the next thing we were asked to find was our slant height. So now that I have the 12 into the picture along with the 9, how would we find our slant height? Pythagorean theorem. 9 squared plus 12 squared will be that slant height squared. That gives us 81 plus 144, which is 225, is s squared. And we ask ourselves, what times itself is 225? And that is 15. 9, 12, 15 is actually a special triangle as well. It's that same 3, 4, 5 triangle. It's just blown up by a multiplier of 3. Everything's 3 times as big as the 3, 4, 5 triangle. So if you notice that, it's a time saver. If you don't, the Pythagorean theorem always gets you there. And not all of the triangles in your homework tonight will be nice triangles. So if it's what? 18, 24, 30 would still be a special triangle. Yep. You can take that 3, 4, 5 and multiply and blow it up by anything. Yep. All right, then we're still asked to find lateral and total area here. Lateral area of a cone is pi times r times s. So that'd be pi times 9 times 15 We're just letting pi tag along, so we're going to do 9 times 15, which is 135. And the pi tags along in our answer. I kind of wrote big for that first part, so I didn't really leave myself very much room here. And then we're also asked to find total. Total is lateral, so 135 pi plus the base. A cone only has one base, and it's a circle, so pi r squared, and our radius is 9. So 9 squared is 81. Add that to that 135, and we get 216.
216?
Mm-hmm. And the pi just keeps on tagging along. Questions on cones?
What is the other formula for the x equals the square root of r squared plus h squared?
Yeah, on the formula sheet it tells you that s is the square root of r squared plus h squared, which just is the Pythagorean theorem, but instead of having the s squared, they start by taking a square root of both sides. So it's the same formula. They just wrote it as a square root instead of as an s squared.
So we don't need to know that?
No, you don't need to know it. The Pythagorean theorem will do it for you. Okay, so our last 3 problems are about spheres. I don't usually bother drawing a sphere because there's not really that much to it. There's really only one measurement to draw in a sphere, and that's the radius, so I don't usually bother drawing them. I just apply the formulas. So here we want area and volume. Our area formula does not need to be memorized. It's 4 pi r squared. And we're told that we have a radius of 3, so we can plug that in. Square the 3, we get 9. 9 times 4 is 36, and the pi just tags along. And volume, this formula does need to be memorized. 4/3 pi r cubed. Do 4/3 times pi times 3 cubed. 3 cubed is 27 times 4/3 gives 36. So 36 pi. This is a special case of them being the same answer. So don't, from this example, begin to assume that they will always be the same. This happens only when the radius is 3. For number 6, we want radius and volume. We are given area is 16 pi. And our area formula is 4 pi r squared. So how do I solve that? Divide by pi. And also the 4. Please go. And 16 divided by 4 is 4. So 4 is r squared. So r is 2. Then once we know our radius, we can find volume. 4/3 pi radius cubed. We found a radius of 2. 2 cubed is 8 times 4 is 32. And divided by 3 is not a nice number. So we're just going to let it be instead of dividing it out, because that would give us a repeating decimal. So we'll just let it stay a fraction.
Wait. How do you get 32?
2 cubed is 8, and then times 4 is 32. And in the last one, we're asked to find radius and area given volume is 2,304 pi. That is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. So what do I do to solve for r here? I can divide by pi. That'll cancel those pi's, and then how do I get rid of that 4/3? By 3 and divide by 4. If we do that reciprocal, it'll cancel everything. So 2304 times 3/4 gives us 1,728. 2304 times 3 and then divide by 4. Now this question asks us, what number times itself 3 times is 1,728? And you probably don't know that. So what you do is you grab a calculator. And you're like, is it 8 times 8 times 8? Nope, not big enough. And you keep on trying. Well, 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. So it must be bigger than that. So 11 times 11 times 11. No, that's not it yet. 12 times 12 times 12. There it is. So we just do some guess and check until we find the appropriate number that we would multiply 3 times to get the number in the question. I don't expect you to know all your perfect cubes. I don't know them either. So just guess and check. You cannot just divide by 3 because it's not 3 times r. It's r times itself 3 times. Good question. That's a common mistake. Then from here, we also still need to find area. Our area formula is 4 pi r squared. Oops. So now that we know we have a radius of 12, we can do 4 times pi times 12 squared. 12 squared is 144, times 4 is 576. And the pi just tags along. Questions? Your homework is both section 3 and 4.